Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another deep dives?
Always.
Today, we're tackling a question that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. Leah Remini. Truth teller, or
Yeah.
just a really good storyteller.
Oh, yeah. She's definitely someone who knows how to command attention. Went from sitcom star to Scientology's public enemy #1. Kind of a wild ride when you think about it.
Big time. So, is she using her platform to expose a powerful organization?
Yeah.
Or is this all, for something else? Fame, revenge, a little bit of both.
It's tricky, right? Because there's definitely a story to be told about Scientology. It's controversial, powerful, secretive, and Remini's been right in the thick of it. But how much of what she's saying is about genuine concern? And how much is about Leah Remini herself?
Right, and to figure that out, we've got piles of articles, interviews, even court documents about her legal battles with the church. We're talking Newsweek, Yahoo Entertainment, BuzzFeed News, the works.
I'm seeing a lot of she said, they said in this material, which is always a challenge, especially with Scientology, where information control is like their whole thing.
Yeah. So before we jump into the accusations, maybe it's helpful to start with Leah's background. Most people know her as Carrie from King of Queens. Funny, relatable.
Total sitcom wife.
Yeah.
But her connection to Scientology goes way, way back. Joined at 9 years old. Think about that. Basically grew up in the system.
That's huge. So leaving in 2013, that was, what, like 30 years later?
Yeah, something like that. So for her, leaving wasn't just switching churches, it was a whole life change. And then, boom, she comes out with this docuseries, Leah Remini, Scientology, and the Aftermath.
Which blew up. 3 Emmys, A&E's highest rated premiere in, was it like a decade?
Yeah, people were hooked. And it wasn't just celebrity gossip. She had former Scientologists on there sharing some pretty intense stories.
Yeah.
Financial exploitation, abuse from higher-ups, cover-ups.
Stuff you wouldn't expect from a religion.
All right, and that's where the controversy explodes.
Yeah.
Because the church, they did not take this lying down, called the docuseries a vicious distortion, said Remini was a liar out for revenge. They even made websites to attack the people who spoke out.
Wow, dedicated websites. That's intense.
Super intense. So you have to wonder, is that the move of an organization protecting its reputation? Or trying to silence anyone who questions them?
Which feeds into the whole, is she legit or not question. I mean, if what she's saying is true, then the church's reaction, well, kind of proves her point. But if she's exaggerating, then maybe they have a reason to be angry.
It's a tough one to unravel. And it gets even more complicated because Remini doesn't just stop at the docuseries. In 2023, she files a lawsuit against the church. Stalking, harassment, defamation. She basically accuses them of waging this whole war against her.
That's a big step, taking it from the court of public opinion to an actual courtroom.
Exactly. So is this about seeking justice, or is it about, I don't know, keeping her name in the headlines? That's the question we're trying to figure out. So, okay, we've got this lawsuit, serious accusations. But lawsuits are messy. They take forever. And how do you even prove something like, say, psychological torture?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's not like a broken arm. There's no x-ray for a damaged mind. So what are we looking for here? If we're trying to figure out if someone's a true visionary fighting for a cause, what are the signs?
Well, think about it this way. Visionaries, they usually have this core message, right? Something they believe in deeply that drives them. And that message stays pretty consistent over time, even when it's unpopular.
Okay, so consistency is important. Like, their actions have to match their words, basically.
Exactly. And they're usually willing to make sacrifices for what they believe in. Think about historical figures, right? Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., they put everything on the line.
High bar, though. Not every activist is going to be a Gandhi. What if they're, I don't know, a little more ambitious? Does that automatically make them a con artist?
That's where it gets tricky. It's not always so black and white. Someone can be genuinely committed to a cause, but also, benefit from it personally.
Like they write a book, do a speaking tour, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean they're not sincere. It's just human nature, I guess.
Oh. Okay, so how does this all apply to Leah Remini? Has her message been consistent since leaving Scientology?
If you look at her story, there is kind of a through line there. It's about truth and transparency. When she was in Scientology, she was all in, right? A true believer. But then she starts seeing things she doesn't agree with. Abuses of power, maybe. And she feels like she has to speak out.
Which wasn't easy, according to her. I mean, in Newsweek, she talked about being depressed, anxious, even scared for her safety after leaving the church.
Right. And that kind of vulnerability, it's hard to fake. Con artists, they're good at spinning stories, playing the victim, but real trauma, that leaves a different kind of mark.
But is it possible that she's playing it up? using that vulnerability to get people on her side.
It's possible. I mean, we can't read her mind, but it's also possible that she's just being honest about what she went through.
And the church. They haven't exactly been sympathetic. They basically called her crazy, said she's making stuff up for attention. Classic attack of the messenger instead of the message tactic, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Powerful institutions do that all the time. It's a way to deflect, discredit, avoid actually addressing the issue.
It makes you think, though. If she's lying, why bother? Why not just ignore her?
That's the question, isn't it? Maybe they see her as a real threat, someone who could actually damage them. That's why they're fighting back so hard.
So the lawsuit, it's almost like a piece of evidence itself. Her supporters say it shows she's serious, willing to risk a lot to hold the church accountable.
Right. It's not just talk. It's putting her money where her mouth is. Literally.
But her critics say it's just another way to stay relevant, to keep the controversy going, sell more books, whatever.
And that's the gray area, right? Is she a crusader for justice, a savvy businesswoman?
Yeah.
Or maybe...
Oh, it's tough to tell. But the lawsuit itself, that's where things get really interesting because, believe it or not, it's actually moving forward.
Yeah, the church tried to get it dismissed, of course. But a judge recently ruled that some of her claims can proceed.
Wait, so the judge is basically saying, okay, there might be something here worth investigating, even though the church denies everything.
Exactly. It doesn't mean she's won, but it's a pretty big deal. The church is going to have to answer some tough questions. It's a big step, for sure. And it makes you think about what's at stake here. I mean, if Remini wins this thing...
It's got to be huge for her, right?
Yeah.
Validation, maybe some big payout from the church.
Yeah, all of that. But it could also encourage other people to come forward, people who've been afraid to speak out against Scientology.
That's a good point. It could set a precedent. Show them that it's possible to challenge this organization and win.
Exactly. It could really shake things up. But there's also the flip side. If she loses.
Oof, yeah. That wouldn't just be a legal loss. It would be a PR nightmare. The church would use it to discredit her even more.
Oh, absolutely. They'd say, see, we told you she was lying. It would be really hard for her to recover from that.
So this lawsuit, it's more than just about Remini. It's about the future of Scientology, in a way.
Exactly. And it really gets to the heart of this whole visionary versus con artist debate. Her supporters see the lawsuit as proof that she's willing to fight, to put herself out there for what she believes in.
Even if it means taking on a powerful and sometimes scary opponent.
Right. But her critics, they say it's just another way to get attention, make money, keep the Remini train rolling.
Tough to say for sure. I mean, she has written the book about all this and the docuseries. That probably didn't hurt her bank account either.
Nope. So it's messy, right? The motivations are never totally clear-cut.
Which is what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. So what exactly did the judge allow to move forward? We know some of the defamation stuff got tossed.
Right. Statute of limitations, free speech issues, complicated legal stuff. But the judge said that claims related to economic interference, like the church messing with her career, those can go to trial.
Interesting. And harassment.
Harassment, too, yeah. So Remini's team, they're going to have to present evidence, witnesses, the whole legal shebang. It's not going to be easy.
But at least she's got her foot in the door, right? The judge sees enough there to keep things moving.
Exactly. It's not a slam dunk for either side, not yet. But it's definitely a turning point.
And this whole case.
Yeah.
It just highlights how hard it is to separate fact from fiction, especially when you're dealing with an organization like Scientology. They got lawyers, PR teams, a whole machine dedicated to protecting their image.
It's like that saying, right? The loudest person in the room is not always the right one.
100%. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Leah Remini, where do you land? Visionary, con artist, somewhere in between?
Honestly, I'm still on the fence. There are things that make me think she's sincere, truly trying to expose something she believes is wrong.
But there are also things that make you wonder if there's a more self-serving motive at play.
Exactly. And I think that's okay. It's complicated. There's no easy answer. And that's kind of the beauty of it all, right?
Totally. It keeps us thinking, questioning, doing our own deep dives into the information. And that's what we're all about here, isn't it?
100%. Keep asking those tough questions, folks. And until next time, happy diving.